Hello and welcome to episode 125 of the Backlot 605 podcast. We are continuing Versus Month. I am one of your hosts. I'm Casey Kelderman. Join with me this time, Brian Mensing. As always, how you doing, Brian?
I'm trying to fix my camera because I can't seem to get my shit together today, I guess.
Yeah, you can't because you have the wrong movie behind you, Brian.
We're not talking about that right now.
We're not talking Alien vs. Predator Requiem. We are talking just straight up AVP Alien vs. Predator, the classic.
I was looking for two badasses going to battle in the image. Let it be.
That's what everybody was looking for in this movie, too. Two badasses going at it, and everybody was disappointed. And here to be disappointed with us is contributing writer to Backlot 605, Joe Fisher. Joe, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Glad to be back.
Yeah, first time since Heavyweights, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yep. Maybe a top 20 comedy of the 90s.
Maybe.
Can you imagine who might have played that?
The guy who Percocizes, Brian, that's who. Yeah, we're talking Alien versus Predator this week. This is our last movie in our Versus Month. We bookended it with, I think, the two probably most notorious Versus movies, Freddy versus Jason, now Alien versus Predator, just a year apart from one another. So we're bookending it with the two big titans of Versus movies. And unfortunately, that's what we got. We got the good stuff smashed in the middle of this. But we'll get into that in just a little bit. But let's jump into the box office and the news for this week, because we have a stacked news week, pretty heavy on comic book news. Wonder why? Because they rule our entire lives. We must now bow down to our nerd overlords that are at Warner Brothers and Disney.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong.
But surprisingly, at the box office this week is a non-comic book movie, Nobody, pulling in $6.7 million. Nobody obviously has I think one of the first big non-child movie, kids movies, family movies, marketing behind this movie. And I think that definitely helped going into its first opening weekend here. $6.7 million, not too shabby, R-rated action film. Starring Mr. Odenkirk.
Odenkirk. And I still am loving the idea of you have an action movie that is being fronted by half of Mr. Show's Bob Odenkirk. You know, like everybody's used to him being the funny guy and whatnot, and he got into the comedy drama side of things with Saul in Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad and whatnot, but to go full on John Wick, I think is amazing, and I cannot wait to see this. I don't even need to see like anything about the movie or anything like that, just that it's John Wick style. Bob Odenkirk, you had me at when do I need to show up?
And did you show up?
Nope, not yet. It's been a busy weekend. I was too busy like working on this whole like live show thing that we were doing and doing a couple other things. Like going to the theater, unfortunately, was not my weekend to be doing it.
Yeah, my weekend for going to the theater was at the State Theater this week, and I checked out Batman '89, which was just incredible to watch in the theater. But Nobody doing pretty good. I will probably check this out when it hits like streaming somewhere. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Mr. Bob Odenkirk. Like, I've never seen Breaking Bad, so that probably does not help that either. But
no, that does not help at all, because he's absolutely a shining gem in that show.
I always get him confused with Steve Odenkirk from Kung Pao Enter the Fist. I always get their names messed up, even though they are spelled differently and not related entirely. But if this starred him in an action movie from the John Wick guys, I would have been there opening weekend if it was the sequel to Kung Pao directed by the John Wick guys. I would have been there.
Well, I will tell you this. So I decided to pull it up on Rotten Tomatoes right now, and we're at a 79.94. So
I've heard nothing but great things about it. Let's see. Number 2, though, this week, Raya and the Last Dragon, $3.5 million. Again, it is on Disney Plus for the Premier Access family movie. 3.5, doing pretty good here. What, third weekend out we are for this movie?
Yep.
I think Brian, like myself, is waiting for this to just hit regular Disney Plus, because we're not paying $30 to
I'm not paying.
own the movie on
I'm
Disney
not paying $30, but from the sounds of it, is going to be one of the opening movies at the end of the month when the West Mall 7 reopens up. I would pay $3-4 to go see this in the theater, as opposed to paying 30 at home.
Well, you'll pay like $8 for
Okay, $8.
It's a new movie.
Still $8. $8, $10 is still a lot cheaper
Better than
$30. Then, like you said, quote unquote, own it at home. No, it's not. It's just an extended rental.
Joe, could there ever be a Disney, like a movie that would go to Disney Plus, you'd pay $30 for that kind of access?
Like a child's sort of targeting movie.
I would say
any
non-Marvel or Star Wars movie. Would you pay that money for it?
It would be a hard sell. Though I watched Soul and really liked it. I don't know, going into it cold, I don't know that I'd have paid $30 for it. But in hindsight, maybe it was worth the price of admission if they had done that.
I think more people would buy into the $30 thing is if like you paid your $30, it was only available on Disney Plus until like the certain date when it would officially like release digital, to the point where then it would hit your like Movies Anywhere account and actually be a full-on purchase. Because again, like he said, it basically is just an extended rental, because if you pay that $30 and then you end up canceling the service, you're out your $30 as opposed to just waiting a few months to see it when it's not for premium access. I think they would really get a lot of people to spend more of that $30 right away if they had somehow had it connected to, a long-term purchase.
Yeah, if there was some way you could redeem it for a discount on a physical copy, if you're still taking
physical, digital, something. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I would want the physical thing. Like if you could redeem it, like you buy it off a Disney online store or even Amazon, you get it 50% off because you bought the premium access version. But I mean, think of it. I mean, you're spending $30 to rent / own the movie on Disney Plus. You're also paying your Disney Plus subscription. You're looking at about $40 just to rent one movie on that service. It's like, I am wondering how well this is doing for them. I don't think they'll ever release these numbers, but
no, and
must be doing all right.
And I agree with you though too, because I mean, at the $30, that is almost half of what an entire year costs if you buy it the 1 year at a time. Because it's like $8 a month or something like that, $80 for the year, something on those lines and whatnot. So if you're dropping $30, you've already basically paid for 4 months worth of service on top of the service you're already paying for.
Yeah. I think
if you have kids, I think this is a pretty good deal though. Still, if you have 2 or 3 kids and you're paying your Disney Plus subscription, and every once in a while you're getting one of these premium movies, it's not a bad deal versus if you were to take the kids to the theater or whatever. So for that audience, I think it's not unreasonable. But yeah, for one person or 2 people, a little different metrics there.
Next up, another kids movie, Tom and Jerry, $2.51 million. I believe this is off HBO Max as of now, so this will be the only way to check it out, at least for probably the next couple weeks before it probably does end up hitting digital for the $20 mark. Crazy how movies are changing so fast that all of a sudden we're in theaters / HBO Max, except you're only on HBO Max for a month, but in 2 weeks you can also rent the movie for $20, and then 2 weeks after that you can probably buy it for $25, and it's like it's crazy how the movie industry has changed in the last year. But Tom and Jerry, $2.5 million, still doing pretty good.
It's okay.
Number 4, Chaos Walking, $1.19 million. Again, I haven't heard anything positive. Yeah, I haven't heard anything positive. Granted, I've not heard of anyone seeing this movie really, besides people who review movies online. So how it's getting this money, I'm supposing that teenagers want to go watch a movie, and it's like, let's go watch, Spider-Man and Ray team up in a teen movie. Last up, The Courier with Mr. Benedict Cumberbatch and his awesome mustache. $1.04 million. I hope he keeps that. Just the stash. He doesn't need the goatee for Doctor Strange next time. Just that stash. It's beautiful.
It is one of those kind of things where it kind of it's reminiscent of like Keanu Reeves now, where he needs to keep the John Wick beard thing he's got going on, because anytime he shaves it off now, he just looks weird. Like, That's a very good epic mustache that Benedict Cumberbatch has for this movie, and I cannot argue that at all.
Yeah, he's a guy that needs the facial hair. I like it, especially. I mean, Keanu does. He has a baby face. He needs to keep that big beard.
Yes, he does.
All right, that's the box office for this week. Nobody kind of sneaking into the box office this week. I think we'll be singing a different story next week. I'm hoping with Godzilla versus Kong. I don't know. Do we have any? Let's before we finish the box office, quick predictions for Godzilla versus Kong from us three. What do you think it'll draw in here domestically opening weekend? It's doing very well overseas already.
It's doing killer overseas, but they also have bigger markets and better COVID restrictions right now.
They got their shit under control.
Yeah, a little bit. I think it's probably going to, there is a high probability it's going to be the biggest box office that we'll have had basically since COVID started.
Yeah, I think it easily will. I'm guessing between 20 and 30, right in that range. Probably leaning more towards the 20 than the 30.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. I mean, if it does over 30, that would be awesome. I think that's a big hit for this movie. But between 20 and 30 is my rough estimate.
Yeah.
Joe, what do you think it would pull in right now? Because I think Tenet is technically still the leading COVID box office number, even though that was over, I think, a week and a half that they cheated and put those numbers in, and it still was I would have to look it up. Less than 20 million, I think.
Well, I'm hoping that you're right, Casey. That it's in that 20 to 30 range, and that is easily by far the number one. I think anything less would be a little bit of a disappointment, especially coming off what we're hearing overseas with people's reception of it. I mean, I'm excited for it. I think it looks awesome. So,
I mean, the one thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, the timing is actually pretty good with people starting to get vaccinated and things starting to trend in the right direction for, maybe more people getting more comfortable to get out into a theater or, also watch on demand.
I do see this as this being very beneficial just because of the market and everything like that, because this movie is definitely going to be one of those ones where you knew, regardless of COVID or not, this movie was going to crush in the markets that it's opening up right now. So it's good to see that they themselves are also embracing going to the theater to help bring this to, hopefully into the black.
Yeah, I think this one could be the real indicator for other studios as to how well movies will do now that, like Joe said, like all the people are getting vaccinated, as we talked about in previous last couple episodes, is that theaters are reopening in New York and LA. AMC's are really, really firing back up. I don't know if Regal is opening yet. I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up. We don't have a Regal anywhere near us, so I don't care about Regal. But I mean, with all these theaters opening up, I think we could be looking at a pretty good box office, at least for Godzilla vs. Kong. If it pulls in over 30, I think that's a really big indicator for other studios that we might start seeing these big box office movies start hitting at their actual release date and not getting pushed back and forth. Mm-hmm. But we do have some more, release date news in the news. So, Brian, I'll throw it off to you. What do we got to talk about this week?
Oh, we got, like you said, I mean, it is kind of superhero heavy, but, I'm okay with that. But you always knew that. First thing is we've got the first Red Band trailer. Well, just trailer in general, but it is a Red Band trailer for James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I will tell you, just as I've done with other ones in the past, I have completely made sure not to watch this. I have full faith in James Gunn. I know that I've seen the cast, everything like that, and I'm excited for this movie, period. And I don't need to see the trailer. I want to go in completely blind and just be blown away by Gunn's version of the Suicide Squad. So I know, Casey, you watched it, correct? Mm-hmm. And what are your initial thoughts?
I wasn't blown away by the trailer. I do still get
you couldn't see Cena?
Yeah, John Cena was not in the trailer, and it pissed me off that I could not see him. Actually, he is the best part of this trailer. That's I will say for positives of it. I think John Cena and his comedic timing and his progression as understanding his persona as an actor is going to work totally great in this movie, especially with James Gunn's style of comedy. Cena's going to fit with that perfectly, and I think him and King Shark will steal the movie from everyone else.
I'm still blown away at the idea of a John Cena and Steve Agee stealing a show in any movie, period.
Who's Steve Agee?
King Shark.
No, that was a surprise this week.
Yeah, Stallone is voicing King Shark.
Then what's Steve Agee doing?
I don't know. That's
I
what
think he was in the trailer, but he might have maybe done like body.
Maybe he did.
Maybe
he did the work for the stuff for Steve or for King Shark.
Yeah,
because he definitely has the body type for it. He definitely has the body type for it.
Yeah, I had to look that up after. I'm like, yeah, they had said a while ago. James Gunn, I think, did that Stallone was in the movie. They didn't say who he was playing, but I guess he is voicing King Shark. Which, yeah, give me Sly as King Shark. Sure, why not?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I wasn't blown away by it. Unfortunately, I'm on the fence on this movie because I think the first trailer for the first Suicide Squad was obviously we all loved that trailer and everybody was gushing about it when it first came out. And then that movie happened. And hopefully Warner Brothers keeps their hands off this and basically said, James Gunn, just go make your movie. And hopefully we just get that movie. I don't need a studio interfered movie. DC hopefully can learn from the mistakes of Suicide Squad and Justice League and just let the director do their thing, and fans will appreciate that much more.
Well, and one thing we have learned from other movies in the past too is that it's not usually the filmmaker making the trailer. It's not usually the studio making the trailer. They hire a third-party company to build these trailers, and sometimes these trailers either give too much away, not enough away, or sometimes these trailers are just poorly made to the point where, you don't know what kind of movie you're getting until you show up. That's one of the reasons why I'm actually like certain movies that I know I want to go see. I'm avoiding the trailers because I don't want either spoilers and or a bad trailer to circumvent my decision to go see that movie.
I think this is a good trailer. I think it gives everything that you kind of need to know to go into the movie. Doesn't give away a whole lot and gives you glimpses of each characters.
Yeah. And I will certainly say the movie poster he dropped for this is fantastic. Very much the old Wild Wild West, old school like 50s movie trailer or poster is amazing.
I was hoping for a Will Smith Wild Wild West poster for this, but take the good with the bad. Joe, what'd you think of the trailer?
I mean, to speak a little bit to the James Gunn part of it, I think it very much carries that tone that you would expect from the Guardians of the Galaxy's movies. Maybe a little raunchier, I would say. But yeah, it was an entertaining trailer. I think there's a lot of parallels that I'm seeing already with this and the other Suicide Squad, which I think both have August release dates, where the trailers came out what feels now like super early. To where, now we have all of this in our mind for the next 3 or 4 months. I'm hopeful for it. And I think it helps that they're going into this with their direction kind of plotted out from the beginning. Whereas when the last Suicide Squad movie came out, Deadpool released the winter before and everybody loved it. And they wanted to kind of change course a little bit at the last minute. So I'm glad that, when you get James Gunn on board, what kind of movie you're making from day one. Mm-hmm. So that's encouraging.
I do still want to know, statistically speaking, whether Michael Rooker makes it through the entire movie. Because
don't hedge your bets on that, Brian.
I know. That's my point, because he's gone on record saying that the first Guardians movie is the only movie he's made it all the way to the end of a James Gunn movie.
Yeah, he ain't getting out alive. I think if you're making bets out there on the internet, Harley Quinn is probably the only one to put your bets on.
Well, that's kind of what's interesting is they're promising us deaths and nobody's safe. So I'm wondering how committed they are to that, really.
Oh, they're probably very committed to they're an asterisk at the end of it that basically says, with the exception of A, B, and C.
Yeah.
We're not going to kill off Harley Quinn. We know better. I think Idris Elba might be on the fence, but obviously,
he's toast.
There's some of those people where they're like, you're definitely potentially on the chopping block.
Sure, they're like, you can't kill Harley Quinn, and guys, we have to use Polka Dot Man more. so you can't kill Polka Dot Man.
I love the fact that on the movie poster, Polka Dot Man is front and center of that. Like the one obscure, like weird character you can have in this movie is right up front and be like, hey, look at here I am.
Well, he's the most DC veteran of all of the cast. He was in The Dark Knight, he's on The Flash, and he was on Gotham. Yeah, he's been in like every DC thing. So
and
he's untouchable. Yeah.
And he's a great comic book writer too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, on to the next thing. So we'll stay in the DC universe here. And that is Pierce Brosnan has been cast as Dr. Fate for DC's Black Adam. I'm excited for this just because I like me some Pierce Brosnan, especially when we kind of get a little bit of an unusual Pierce Brosnan, because, most people think, James Bond amongst, what I think Casey originally thinks of as bad singing in Mamma Mia. I think is what he thinks of Pierce Brosnan.
I think of GoldenEye on Nintendo 64. Come on.
Right. But no, I think Dr. Fate is one of those ones you need somebody who's very thespian-like to take on that role, and I think Pierce Brosnan is a great selection for that.
Yeah, I don't know this character at all. The Black Adam stuff is out of my wheelhouse of DC related stuff. I know the bare minimum of that character and Shazam. But I'm like, yeah, sure. We need to eventually every actor has to appear in a Marvel or DC movie, and Pierce Brosnan is finally dipping his toes into it. Yeah. And I think him and The Rock would have really fun chemistry together. I think Pierce Brosnan and The Rock would be a fun on-pair duo I think Brosnan can probably hold his own against The Rock, at least if he's being the villain to Black Adam's anti-hero character that The Rock is playing.
Well, because if memory serves me correctly, Dr. Fate's a good guy, so
Yep, he's rounding out the Justice Society that's going to appear in this movie.
So he's not the villain.
No.
Maybe he is. I don't know.
Well, but is Black Adam a hero? That's the other kind of question, which I'm assuming he is the hero. But
yeah, they keep calling him the anti-hero, and I'm like, well,
I think The Rock said that right away. Like
he did
when he was cast. He's like, yeah, The Rock ain't playing the bad guy. He's done playing the heel. He is.
I'm waiting for the day when we do get to see Dwayne Johnson actually be full on hardcore like bad guy in a movie. Put that brute force to some use as opposed to always having to be the hero. Because right now he's like, well, the closest I'm going to get to the bad guy side is I'll be an anti-hero. I'm the bad guy who's actually good. I can't be a straight up bad guy.
I'll pop for it if they have Black Adam appear as a villain in the Peacemaker spinoff show. That is what we need. Rock, Cena.
That would be amazing. Yeah. I would be okay with that. And between the two of them, between Cena and The Rock, and I do like kind of Casey alluded to is, Cena's finding his way about where he wants to be in acting and whatnot. And I love the fact that he's not going the Rock direction. The Rock show has attempted to try to do funny and saying like that, but hands down, Cena's by far funnier than he is. On to keep it. Did you ever see Blockers?
Yeah, Cena's great. He's working with great comedic directors. I think if you give The Rock, if The Rock was in like a Judd Apatow movie, I think The Rock would crush in it. Like,
I'm not saying he wouldn't crush.
He was just in the Tooth Fairy and the Game Plan. He was in bad movies. Give him a good comedy, he can pull it off.
Aren't those both Disney movies?
Unfortunately, yes.
So that's probably why he's like, I can't do this Marvel thing. I'm going over to DC. I've done the Disney thing. Oh, wait, I take that back. He's doing Jungle Cruise. I retract my previous statement. All right. On to continue. Gee, is like everything this week, DC almost looks like. Ron Livingston is to replace Billy Crudup as Barry Allen's father, Henry, in The Flash. My understanding is that the only reason why this is happening is due to scheduling conflicts for the morning show with Billy Crudup. I'm kind of sad to see this happen because I really wanted to see what Billy could bring to The Flash as Henry Allen. But I do love me some Ron Livingston. I just think it's going to be a different kind of father entity dynamic between him and Ezra Miller than what Billy would have brought to it. So I'm sad to see Billy go, but I'm curious to see what Ron's going to do for this because, again, I've liked Ron Livingston ever since Office Space.
Yeah, this casting, yeah, like you said, it was because of the morning show that Billy Crudup is on. But that again, the Flash has been pushed back so often. How can we not get this guy there for? I'm assuming he's not going to have a big part. Like he's in prison yet. Like that's where I'm like, he couldn't have come for a week and
that's just it though, because if memory serves me correctly, from watching the show actually, is that since we know we're talking multiverse and multiple versions of the same universe and whatnot, there is a universe in which Henry Allen is the Flash. So he might get more screen time than just being behind bars.
Well, yes, I've watched the Flash show. I know that, but I don't. Again, this is my problem with the DC movies. I don't know this Flash yet, and if they're going to introduce all that crap, it's like I need to know this Flash first before I can get 3 or 4 other different Flashes in this movie. I need to know this guy first. I don't know this one at all, and that's what I'm hoping we get out of this Flash movie. Again, Michael Keaton is supposed to be in this movie too, so it's like, what are we trying to do with this? I don't know. And apparently Keaton has made some statements of, I don't know if I'm in it or not. I don't know if I'm going to appear in this. It's like, what the hell is going on with this movie? Are we switching directors again too? Because we've already had like 5 of those for this movie.
Right.
Let's figure out what we're doing with this movie and go forward with it. And again, with all these DC movies, it's like, what's the DC universe even look like anymore? Because with Zack Snyder's Justice League that just came out on HBO Max, he has said after this, yep, my universe is done. My trilogy of movies is done. So I'm like, okay, so his version of
his trilogy of movies is done. That doesn't necessarily mean that DC and Warner Brothers is done with that universe.
I hope they're done with that universe. Let's use this movie right here, The Flash, and just start over.
Well, I mean, Flashpoint's a good way to do it, though, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm like, at this point, you kind of have to. Your timelines and everything, who's in what movie and what universe and where. It's like Ben Affleck is done as Batman. He doesn't want to be Batman anymore. Let's figure out a way to get this Flash to introduce a whole new world. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this movie. I'm not going to believe it until we see an actual trailer for this movie that this movie is actually happening.
I will say this much for the sake of Ezra Miller having a small cameo in the Flash TV show. I would love to see Grant Gustin have just even a little blip cameo of his version of the Flash in the film. But that's just me. That's just a fan thing there for me.
Joe, what do you think of Ron Livingston? Is he going to beat up a fax machine in this movie?
Can only hope so. There has to be, if they're going to go into multiple universe and everything, he's got to be like in a dead end job at some IT firm or something somewhere. But yeah, I like him, and yeah, basically because of Office Space, it's definitely a way different actor, I guess, from what I've seen from him than Billy Crudup. So, recasting a character always kind of sucks, but we'll see how it turns out. And there's just a lot going on with this movie. And Ben Affleck, as far as I know, is somehow involved with it too. So I don't even know how real that is or not. So yeah, I'm kind of with you, Casey, where there's just not a lot of definite answers about what's going to be going on here.
Yeah.
But I am excited to see once it starts to actually take form.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have like a Wonder Twins like thing, whatever, with Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton. It's both Batmans at the same time on screen. Okay.
I mean, with the casting of Supergirl also being in it, that's kind of another interesting thread that is sort of new to the Flashpoint part of it.
Yeah, exactly. And relatively unknown from what I'm understanding for the one who's playing Supergirl too.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm interested to see how they're, obviously we know that the things are progressing between Ron Livingston here, like you said, Supergirl here. So, I mean, things are moving in the Flash wheelhouse. It's not like it's completely stalled out. So hopefully that means we're going to get something here soon.
Yeah, I just want a damn Flash movie. Like, let's just get to it already.
He just wants the Flash movie so he can be like, I'm done with Ezra Miller as the Flash. Let's move on.
No, I like him as the Flash, but
I enjoy him as the Flash.
Just get his movie out there already. Jeez.
Right.
I want Boomerang in it too, because I really liked. He was the one of the shining spots of the first Suicide Squad. He was. I liked him.
Oh, completely. I mean, yeah, definitely like your Captain Boomerang or like Captain Cold or something like that. Yep. I'm curious to see how they pull this off. Yeah, absolutely. In continuing the DC news, promising young woman director Emerald Fennell to write DC Comics Zatanna for Warner Brothers. I think Casey, you or somebody else basically saying that here is another one of DC going, and let's just pick out the hot new writer director thing so we can try to make more movies kind of stuff or whatever in our wheelhouse, the indie people and whatnot. So I'm still in the dark about Promising Young Woman, having not seen it yet. I hear nothing but great things. I think Zatanna is going to be a great female-led character to bring to the screen, a very underrated character. So I'm curious to see where they're going with this here.
Yeah, this is where I'm like, this is where I want the DC movies to go. It's like, just get us the separate movies for now, because I don't know if they have it figured out of how to do this connected universe fully. It's like, just give us a Zatanna movie, like give us another Constantine movie, give us the Flash movie, and you don't have to connect any of them to one another. And that's what I'm hoping this movie is here. And I know Justice League Dark, I think, is still in talks of making that a live action version of that. I don't know where that's at anymore. But hopefully, because Emerald is such a hot young talent right now, and everybody's like, all right, we need to pick out these people who are out nominated for Oscars this year. We got to pluck them out where we can fit them in a property. That's how I'm assuming that's maybe how Hollywood kind of works in a way. It's just these studios are like, all right, everybody likes your hot indie movie. Here's the characters that we have and properties. Which one would you like to tackle? And they probably just had this list and like, all right, I'll do Zatanna. That'd be fun. That seems like a great character to finally adapt to the big screen. And like, you show up at any comic convention, there's someone dressed up as her. So so this is a no-brainer for DC to do this.
Yeah, hopefully they kind of follow the path that they carved with Shazam and say, maybe this can be connected to the whole overall universe, but we don't need to shoehorn it into that. We can kind of have their own Shazam universe that's off to the side. This Justice League Dark or whatever the more mystical, magical stuff they do can be over here. Doesn't have to necessarily cross with all that other stuff, and just, give us a really focused story, like Casey alluded to. Show us who this character is on their own without, all these 10 different characters jammed into their origin story or anything like that.
Well, and that's, you bring up the point where I'm hoping to is for the sake of like Shazam, for example. Shazam is very well contained in its own and whatnot, but it alludes to the fact that it's quote unquote part of the universe only in the fact that it references Batman is real, Superman is real kind of thing, but it doesn't like you said, try to shoehorn it in, like they reference these things they exist in the same world and reference all this here, but it's not like they have to throw it in, because I mean, even like the Superman, like quote unquote cameo of Shazam, you don't see Henry Cavill. You just literally see a guy that's saying there is going to be the Superman, so
the headless Superman,
right? Which I did find kind of fun in that aspect of it, because it leaves a little bit of mystery. But yeah, I like the fact that we give it into the fact that we're going to be self-contained, get these guys establish that they are in the same universe. That way they could potentially cross over at a later date, but give them their time to be able to flesh out these characters first.
And that's where I think the best DC universe movies right now, like for me, it's like Shazam, the first Wonder Woman, Man of Steel, and even Aquaman that's probably in some way, shape, or form, that's my top 4 of this universe. And for a lot of fans, I think that is true too, because you get to focus on the one character, whereas you get Batman versus Superman or Justice League or Suicide Squad, you don't really understand the characters fully, and it's them still trying to play catch up, which I think they just need to pump the brakes on a little bit, and let's get our character stories out first.
You get somebody like Slipknot in the first Suicide Squad that doesn't even get a little title card and is killed off in the first 15 minutes.
And they had a huge missed opportunity within that soundtrack to play a Slipknot song during his video introduction.
Yes.
Snuff?
I would have gone with Psychosocial, but that's okay.
I meant the fact he dies, Snuff, that sort of thing. Joe got the reference.
Missed opportunity.
All right. Now that we can finally leave the DC universe, we're going to go to the Mouse House. Pixar's Luca is set for a Disney Plus exclusive release on June 18th because basically they need to start getting stuff out. Otherwise, they're just going to be literally sitting on the can for everything. So, being that they did this with Soul, I'm not surprised that they did this with Luca. So, it's just a matter of when Disney Plus comes rolling, or not Disney Plus, but when Luca comes rolling around, if we're going to go see it since we've got the service to watch it. I probably will watch it just for the sake of I've got Disney Plus and it's there for the viewing.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see what movies Disney is picking and choosing that they give the premium access to and which ones they just put on Disney Plus. So far, it's the last two Pixar movies that they're with Soul and then this. Like, well, we'll just give those away on Disney Plus. But the actual Disney movies, the live action Mulan and then animated Raya and the Last Dragon, they're like, no, you guys got to pay $30 for that. So I wonder what the behind the scenes of that is. I don't doesn't fully make sense to me because
I think there's like studio contract kind of stuff that's making this happen, to be perfectly honest, because pretty much Disney. Yes, Disney owns Marvel and Pixar and all that stuff, whatever. But I think it boils down to like the productions underneath of them. In terms of,
but those are straight up Disney movies that they're making for the $30 premium access, and then the Pixar, which is the subdivision of Disney, is getting the free access on Disney Plus. I don't know. I am wondering what's going on there, but I'm not going to complain. I get another Pixar movie out and on time. Soul was fantastic, one of my favorite movies of last year, and I'm not expecting anything different with a Pixar movie, and that we're going to Disney Plus. I'm like, all right, June 18th, it's on my Disney Plus queue.
But are you going to get Toy Story 4 or The Good Dinosaur?
I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. I know nothing about Luca. I'm hoping for more of Coco and less of Incredibles 2.
Ouch!
Shots fired at Incredibles 2. It's not a good movie.
Neither is A Good Dinosaur, but I can at least get through Incredibles 2.
Casey might just hate superheroes. I don't know. That's from the vibe I'm getting.
I think he does.
I do.
He's becoming a supervillain in front of our eyes.
It's my origin story.
He is the heel.
He saw Batman versus Superman and just
broke me. He's like, I'm out.
I'll get you, superheroes.
That's actually not far
off. Oh, I remember. Martha.
How do you know that name? Joe, what do you think of Luca in this Disney Plus?
Having seen very little of it, but it is a Pixar movie. It has Jacob Tremblay, who I think is the child, one of the great child actors we have today. I'll take another free Pixar movie. I don't lose sleep, waiting for them, and then they show up on my streamer one day, and it's a pleasant surprise. So I'm not going to argue about that.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to point out, for the sake that, because I had to bring up Jacob Tremblay, the fact that you brought up his name, because I'm like, okay, the name sounds familiar, but it was not clicking. He has connection to the universe of which we're going to talk about later. I just figured out.
Yes, he was in Predator.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I pulled up. I'm like, hey, that works. So speaking of Disney and Disney Plus and the premium access that we're talking about here, Black Widow is finally going to get its release, but is also going to be a Disney Plus premiere access for the $30. So, in this instance, Casey, as much as you've been talking about this Black Widow thing for basically since the first pushback, we're both right in the instance that we're going to get theatrical, but we're going to get a Disney Plus release with it, because you were like, they're just going to dump it on Disney Plus. I'm like, nope, they're going to go for the theaters. So we get to be both right.
This is best case scenario, I think, and I think you would say that too. Is like if you want to go out to the theater and you feel safe doing so. I mean, by July, God damn it, I hope we're back in a movie theater at least, near full capacity at that point. But who knows? But yeah, Black Widow is one where I'm like, all right, I'm going out to the theater to watch Black Widow. But it also makes sense for people who would not feel comfortable doing so that you can pay the $30 and watch Black Widow at home. And for me, that makes a lot more sense to do the 30. Like, I'm very interested to see if they'll continue this throughout the rest of the year with like Shang-Chi and the Eternals for the Marvel movies doing this type of dual release here. Because that could set a precedent for any Disney property going forward if Black Widow does gonzo great numbers for their $30. Because think about it, if you're doing theatrical and the $30, that $30 is going straight into your pocket, where the theatrical part of the percentage of that is going to the movie theater.
Yeah. And the other thing this is going to potentially set the precedence for is this will be the first one, because right now, Raya and the Last Dragon, and all these ones that are on the Premier Access, places like Cinemark that don't do the dual release or the available right away, where they won't release those in theater. Like for instance, we don't get Raya and the Last Dragon here in Sioux Falls until the smaller theater opens up too, because they'll play those kind of movies. Is this going to be that movie that makes places like the Cinemark shift gears and say, we cannot justify not having this in the theater?
Yep. Makes zero business sense to say, no, we're not playing Black Widow.
Yeah. Like so far, the ones that we've had before, like I could see the being on the fence and be like, like, will Raya and the Last Dragon really pull enough for them to justify changing their tune and whatnot? But to have a Marvel property with an established character like this, say, well, no. So I agree. I think they're going to change their tune.
Almost sounded like Mickey Mouse for a second there.
No, I think I have a shield for the Mouse House lately, so.
And here I'm like planning my plot to burn down the Mouse House.
Right. You're over here going, I don't need any more superhero movies. I'm going like, bring them on.
Me and Goofy are going to team up and finally bring the Goof House to the top.
The Goof House.
The Goof House. Joe, what do you think? What do you think of Black Widow going to Disney Plus and theaters same day?
Well, it's great to finally have what seems like a set in stone decision. But like you mentioned a little earlier about Godzilla versus Kong, well, if the numbers are great for theaters for that, it could kind of set the tone and the trajectory of what we're thinking is going to happen in June and July. I mean, I don't know, or might they change their tune again a week or two from now? I'm still not positive, but it feels like Marvel movies need theatrical releases. So let's give them one and hope that we can be there by that time.
You're right. I think this is also kind of in the same lines, though, too, of Disney going, we've been sitting on this movie for as long as we absolutely have. We need to just get it out. Because, like Derek has alluded to, because of everything getting pushed back, what's in the can, what's ready to be released and whatnot, our last half of 2021 is going to be just just try to help them keep on back into their normal process and whatnot. Our last half of 2021 is just going to basically be every 4 to 6 weeks is a new Marvel movie.
Well, yeah, think about it. If this is coming out in July, they're doing 2 more movies the same year. I'm like, that's not a lot of room between having space between your Marvel movies.
Well, yeah, but you're talking about 3 more, because you're also missing the fact by Christmas we have Spider-Man too. So we've got the Sony Marvel one as well. So you have, Shang-Chi, the Eternals, and Spider-Man after Black Widow. All of that is supposed to be this year.
Yeah, I think I think it'll be very interesting to see studios trying to play catch up now here in this year and next year. I think it'll be a lot of, man, we got this stuff ready to go. We just got to unload it. Every single month we'll have a Disney movie and a DC movie and a Star Wars movie or something. All those big properties will just be boom, 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 back to back.
The other part I think is kind of entertaining about all of this here is all the ones that keep getting pushed back, are all these franchise tent poles And all of these ones are like the lower budget, more indie style or whatever, or just smaller, more independent original stories or whatever, are all the ones that got shilled out to like Amazon and Netflix, everything like that. And so it just goes to show how much these studios are depending on these massive $200 million tent poles that they're like, I can't afford to sell it off. I mean, look at the crap that happened with Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong, when they were looking at potentially selling it, and the studio underneath them is like, nope, that's not how that's going to work. You know? So I think you get all these ones that we have such a backlog because they're like, well, we can't afford to just give these away like we were before.
Well, yeah, they need a Black Widow or a Spider-Man to make damn near $1 billion. Like, you can't do that on a streaming service. It's just not, it's just not in the cards. So I understand why they kept pushing these back, and I'm just glad we're finally getting close to the normal of seeing movies back in theaters. And I think this, like I said, with Godzilla vs. Kong, that could be the precedent of going forward, that we have at least something big and something to look forward to in the theaters. So, all right, that's the news. Another movie that people that were back in 2004 looking forward to seeing two titans of sci-fi fight to the death, mano a mano, Alien versus Predator. As we'll jump into that, but we're going to throw it off to professional wrestling announcer Charlie Eccles to give an introduction for 2004's Alien versus Predator.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's main event of the evening, brought to you by Backlot 605. In the first corner, he stands at 6'10" and has another alien in his mouth. From the movie Alien, covered in saliva, Alien! And his opponent, the only fictional character to be called an ugly motherfucker by a former governor of California, Predator!
Thank you once again to Mr. Charlie Eccles at Wrestling Voice One for giving an awesome introduction this entire month. He gave us our PG-13 rating right there, dropping our one F-bomb, much like Alien versus Predator. Came out.
Man, I got gypped.
Mr. Eccles steals all of our one F-bombs that we allow on the shows. Damn Charlie Eccles. This movie was released August 13th, 2004, Alien versus Predator. Written and directed by famed director of Mortal Kombat and Resident Evil, Paul W.S. Anderson. No, this movie does not star his wife, but it does star Lance Henriksen. Do you guys remember the first time you watched Alien vs. Predator? Because I don't remember the hype of this back in 2004. I mean, I was only 10 years old. I was not into...
You shouldn't have been watching movies like this when you were 10.
No, but I mean... I don't know about you guys. You guys might have been watching Alien or Predator movies by the time you guys were 10 years old. I know a lot of people have, and I had friends that had watched this movie by that point, but this was not on my radar at that point. Do you guys remember the hype for this movie at all, going into Alien versus Predator?
Absolutely. Yep. I can't be 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure I saw this in the theater because it is two of the biggest, Alien style, franchises to grace us over the last 20 years to say, hey, you know what? We need to see these guys duke it out. So I'm pretty confident. I have a buddy of mine that is a huge Aliens fan. And so I'm pretty sure we went to go see this in the theater. But that was also many, many moons ago.
Yeah. This came out on my 19th birthday, so that's how I spent my birthday that year. Me and a big group of friends all went and saw it. And we were pretty divided down the middle on who we were kind of backing going into the movie. Some of us were more disappointed than others based on the outcome, but all of us were at least a baseline level of disappointed walking out of the theater. But it was a fun way to spend the night. I do remember the conversations riding out to the theater about who was going to win. So
Yeah, that's why I love these movies where you pit these two titans, because everybody, no matter who you are, you have someone you're rooting for. You might like both, but you're like, yeah, but Freddy Krueger needs to kick Jason Voorhees' ass, or
yes,
Godzilla needs to kick Kong's ass, or
Kong for the win.
Sorry, Brian. Or
I can't pick a favorite child. Sorry.
Or here, I'm on the side. I love the Predator series, and I'm on the side of Predator for this. And yeah, just I remember the first time I watched this, I was pushing it off for a very, very long time. Finally watching this because I've never heard anything great about it. And yeah, the first time I watched it, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. It's fine. It's exactly what you probably would think an Alien vs. Predator movie is.
Yep.
Is it great? No, it's not. Could have been a lot better, yeah. But for a PG-13 Alien vs. Predator movie in 2004, this directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, also, this movie might have been best case scenario for that. So,
yeah, I think with who's making the film, the fact that they made it PG-13, I think screams to. I think we got the best thing we could have gotten out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because absolutely, this should have been a minimum rated R. Easily. Mm-hmm. That right there alone probably would have changed the entire dynamic of this movie.
Yeah. Again, this is when studios were afraid of that word. R was a bad letter. You don't want that if you want to make some big money at the box office at that point. And yeah, again, like a little behind the scenes that I looked up on this, talking about a movie, built up with so much hype, Alien vs. Predator. This movie was shot in 2.5 months with 4 months of post-production. So a little over a half of a year is all that they got for this movie, pretty much.
And you can tell.
you can very much tell that's the final product of this movie because of that. Yeah, that's crazy to me that Paul W.S. Anderson was given less than $50 million and basically 6 months to make your entire movie. I think that's pretty impressive. I do got to give him props for that. That's a lot to take on, especially with Alien, the two icons of sci-fi horror, Alien and Predator, trying to team those two together for that much restrictions on it. But yeah, let's jump into the movie. For some reason, this movie takes place in Antarctica. Because why the hell not? Because when I think of Alien and Predator, I think of Antarctica. Don't you guys?
Well, with the way that they preface the story and how this all comes to, why this pyramid thing exists and stuff like that, and how far dated it is, it makes sense. Plus, for the sake of it, it's a very excluded area for that. Because they reference in the movie and whatnot is that yes, it takes place in Antarctica, but you figure how many millennia this battle between these two species has been going on. It predates back to when Antarctica, continentally shifted down to where it's at and was not in a tundra of snow and ice. So, they do at least give you that. But the fact that we have basically a very excluded playground for the stuff to happen where nobody knows this stuff happens, essentially does make sense though too.
Yeah, I'll disagree. I don't think this plot makes a whole lot of any sense at all. They're talking about it's Aztec writing, right? That they're looking at with these pyramids, if I'm not mistaken.
There was like three different basically like three different cultures that were part of that, because they've talked like Aztec and Mecca and was it Cambodia or something like that.
So nowhere near Antarctica. Yeah.
Again, the continental plates shifted.
Again, let's. I think full force. This movie was set in Antarctica because they shot in the Czech Republic or something like that. They didn't shoot in the United States or anywhere you would usually shoot a big budget movie like this. So I think that's probably why they're like, well, where can we shoot this movie on the cheap? Because we only have less than $50 million. I guess Antarctica? Sure. Let's throw these two guys in the snow and let them fight out there. And the plot is, it's relatively simple. It's about, this this company headed by Lance Henriksen, who takes his group to Antarctica. It's led by this. Basically, she's like a expedition explorer, a guide, and she leads all these scientists down into this uncovered pyramid that is, like Brian said, been there for hundreds of thousands of years. That leads to basically Alien versus Predator fighting because they want to fight. It's said that that the Predators have built this temple alongside humans at that point to basically worship the Predators, and that every 100 years that the Predators come back down to hunt xenomorph aliens, and the xenomorphs obviously use humans to reproduce and create even more of a threat for the Predators to finally take down and hunt. So all of this is humans stuck in the middle of this long war between aliens and Predators. Guys, we're just stuck in the middle here. We're just lowly humans.
That's just, which is, I don't know, kind of expected. We're just basically the vessels to continue their continued fight. Mm-hmm. Aliens can't reproduce without the humans, so.
And it is full force in this movie that humans do not matter because our human characters suck. I don't know about you guys.
I always enjoy Ewan Bremer, but he's not why people go see the movie either, though.
No, and again, here's the thing with an Alien vs. Predator movie. What are you going to go watch this for? You want to see an alien fight a predator. But with both of those series, what makes both like the first Predator movie and Alien 1 and 2 so great is you have these awesome characters that are going up against, said alien or predator. Whenever you think of Predator, you also think of Dutch. Whenever you think of an alien, you also think of Ripley. Yep. Sorry, not Ridley Scott. Ripley, as the main protagonist of the movie. But what are your guys' thoughts on the main characters? For me, I need more B movie actors in this movie. I could have used more Lance Henriksen type of actors sprinkled throughout.
Well, I think that because essentially these take, not necessarily the Predator side of things, but the alien side of things, as we're talking about, essentially these are something that's taking place before these like Ridley Scott and all that stuff is happening, that, we have basically like the only real cameo that they could try to shoehorn into this. And that is by the way of Bishop Wayland. That now we see that, okay, Bishop from the Alien franchise is basically molded out of the actual guy, Wayland, who the company is that is from the Alien franchises. I mean, other than that, being that it's a prequel of sorts to all of the Ridley Scott stuff and James Cameron, I think, there's not a whole lot you could really do.
No, I'm not saying bringing in actual characters, but having character actors appear in this, because I don't have any fun with any of these characters, which is unfortunate. Lance Henriksen is sort of given a backstory of like, this is his dying final mission that he wants to, this needs to be his legacy. So he is at least given that. And I think our main final girl is sort of given like, she's a survivor. Yep. I think that's kind of the big character trait, but everybody else, like I need a frickin' Bill Paxton character in this movie. That's what I needed.
Yeah, it was definitely missing like someone with a little bit of charisma, but the Wayland character, even the spots that he has in this movie, they kind of fell flat a little bit, even though he was someone from the Aliens movie, and I think maybe Aliens 3 he was also in. Yeah, it didn't really do a whole lot for me. There wasn't a single future governor in this movie. It just, we got two of them in Predator, but
I was going to say, don't count out like Lance Henriksen running for governor.
All of a sudden I was just having like, okay, so different, like for the sake of Predator, like what other people can we get out of that franchise to go run for governor?
Gary Busey.
Yeah. Gary Busey.
Yeah, Danny Glover.
I would be okay with that because his tagline needs to be, "I'm too old for this shit. Let's get it fixed."
Yeah.
Busey did offer to come back in this movie, and for some reason, I don't know why.
Why did they turn him down?
Yeah.
Have you seen Busey lately?
Exactly.
They're probably like, hey, we could get them on the cheap, but do we want that? Nope. Sorry. Roll's filled, sir. Don't hurt me.
It's sad to say I needed a Jake Busey in this movie to liven it up a little bit. But also,
I would love to see a Jake Busey in whether it be a Predator or an Alien type of movie that is not Starship Troopers.
Also, Arnold was asked to reappear as Dutch in this movie, and he gave a yes under one condition, which is if I lose my governor race, I will appear. And of course, as history shows, we had a Terminator as the governor, so that cameo did not happen, unfortunately.
Failed as California.
When you're a little busy, Yeah, because if I remember correctly, the first thing he did after he was out of being the governor is when he did the Expendables. Like he did zero acting during that, which, I mean, I guess for the sake of wanting to be in politics, I applaud the guy for just be like, I'm going to stick to this lane for right now. So it sucks, but I don't know. I mean, would have bringing Arnold Schwarzenegger into the fold here if he'd lost the governor race and whatnot, would that have overshadowed the Alien aspect of this here, because then it's more of a Predator movie? Or is it more that because we've got Bishop and Dutch in here, that we've got one of each side, does it equal it out? Because obviously we know that Bishop doesn't have the star power that Dutch does.
I mean, here's the thing. I think this, I don't care for this movie very much, and I know a lot of people don't either. This needed a little spark of charisma from someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger or any other shit. You could have thrown like frickin' Jean-Claude Van Damme in its, not behind the Predator costume this time. Throw him in front of the camera. Or just any B movie actor at this time and could have just livened it up a little bit. And I think that's the biggest missed opportunity of this movie is in the characters that we have here, because we are following the basic missions of any Alien movie or a Predator movie. You have this group that basically is just going up against the Alien or the Predator. And for me, that's a big missed opportunity of this movie. But yeah, let's kind of jump into I don't know if we need to get into the plot too much of it, but kind of jump into our thoughts, our favorite scenes and stuff. Because for me, watching it this time, 30 minutes into this movie, I'm like, what is happening? Are we gonna ever see these two fight? Because this is really slow. There's a lot of setup before we get to an Alien or a Predator appearance in this movie. I think I timed for it. The Aliens don't appear till like 37 minutes into this movie. The Predators, I think you get like one shot of before that.
I do have a quick question just for the sake of argument. Granted, I only rewatched this here in the last few days, and I don't even remember the differences and whatnot, but which version of this did you watch?
I would assume the theatrical. I just watched the HBO Max version.
Well, HBO Max has both versions of it. If you go into Alien vs. Predator, go down to extras, they had the extended cut in there too, because that's the version I watched on HBO Max.
I can only take an hour 40 of this, Brian. I'm sorry.
It's an hour 48. Like, I literally don't know what the 8 minutes difference is, because it's been that long since I'd seen it. I was like, I'm not about to try to watch both of them to see what the 8 minutes difference is. So I was just for the sake of curiosity.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I watched just the theatrical cut because I didn't notice anything new at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't take 8 more minutes of this, Brian. I mean, I already took an hour and 40.
Hey, you know what? I'll just preface the sake. I can't take any 8 more minutes. You're the one that came up with this list.
Hey, if we're talking versus movies, we got to talk this movie. And I think there is good stuff in this, and that is stuff I do want to talk about, because as much as the humans suck, I think the effects and the look of the Predators and the Aliens are just incredible in this movie. I think they both look fantastic. I do love that they use pretty much all practical effects for both characters, and I think they look just great. And seeing these two Titans go up against each other is fun. Whenever you have an Alien fighting a Predator in this movie, this is really fun. And
I will also like to say the fact that they gave basically different character traits and different looks to each of the Predators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There was kind of like a chief Predator that was, I don't know, maybe a foot taller than all the other ones. They had a little bit of a different mask and everything. And yeah,
there was the
Predator.
I think there's the sporty one with the Una
no,
thing where he's got just
And that's why I don't know a whole lot of the comic book stuff of Predators, but they go really deep into that. From what I understand for Predator comic books, is that they go deep into like naming different categories of predators and what they do and what like their masks and stuff can mean. And I mean that's why we got this movie, is because of a comic book, Alien vs. Predator. And yeah, and I do love that. I mean, damn it, the main predator in this movie has more character behind him than nearly any of the humans.
Well, it is called Alien versus Predator, not Alien versus Predator versus the humans that are going to die.
I mean, that's true. But I am glad they gave a predator some character. I do like that he has some character behind him. And I think we could at least maybe see a little bit of a different side of the predators in this movie, too, because they're not just straight up ruthless killers. They're going to kill anyone and everyone in their sight. That they are on this single mission for this movie, and that's to hunt and kill xenomorphs. And so I do like the fact that we do get I think it's super cheesy, but I like it. It's fun that we get the female protagonist of this movie teaming up with the predator by the end. And I've said this after I watched it the first time, like this is just a straight up action romance movie too. I kind of wanted her to, at the end of this movie, like in any other movie, if this was like Arnold instead of the Predator,
there would have been a kiss at the end.
There would have been a kiss at the end, and I kind of wanted it. I think it earned it.
She would have got stabbed in the face from the appendages from his mouth.
This movie earned it.
I do love the fact that at the end he takes off his mask and she sees him for the very first time. And she just kind of does like, oh, that's what you look like.
Hoping for something different, apparently.
She's hoping for for Arnold Schwarzenegger, but instead she gets that face.
Man, she got the ultimate rite of passage from him. That was kind of sweet and cute little moment between the Predator and Alexa, is that her name? Where he marks her on the face and everything. Yeah. So,
and like,
very heartwarming.
And takes xenomorph body parts and gives her weapons out of them. Yeah, like that's fun.
It's like when your dog brings you a dead animal in the backyard.
Well, and I like the fact that I'm like, what exactly did he do to the alien skull that when she put her hand in it, it didn't just melt off? Like, how does he drain all the blood?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he keeps that, like, finger-toe thing or whatever with him the entire time that always seems to always be full of enough to do what it needs to do. But, man, that decapitated head was just perfectly fine for her to use.
Because it looks cool, Brian.
Oh, I'm not arguing that, and I do also enjoy the fact that when we get into this team up section, whatever, when she figures out that it's a bomb, we just see the Predator like, oh, I know you and I can't communicate verbally, so I'm just gonna be like, it goes like boom to explain. Oh, this is a bomb.
I was gonna say, is that the first time the Predators ever tried to communicate with the human that type of way, like a universal language? Like, I think that's kind of interesting, at least, that he's giving like, what's a universal language if something's gonna blow up? Just holding my hand up and expanding it.
Yep.
Yeah. But when we get this first showdown between the alien versus the Predator, I think it is I think it has this kind of like, oh yeah, they're about to throw down type of moment, like when we talked about Freddy versus Jason, it's when they pulled Freddy into the real world and the music just starts picking up, and you're like, oh shit, here we go, Freddy versus Jason in this cabin that's burning down. Like, this movie does have a moment like that, at least, that we get the first iconic face off between the two characters. I'm like, that's fun. I love that. I love having like just understanding the iconography of a Predator look and an alien look, and having just the face off. It very much felt like Hogan and The Rock facing off for the first time. Like that's what that looked like.
Wow, Hogan and The Rock. That's where you had to go with it, huh?
You know me. I had to throw a wrestling reference in.
Yeah, but that one?
Have you seen? I mean, not to go on a tangent on wrestling, but the crowd goes insane during the confrontation between The Rock and Hogan at WrestleMania. The crowd goes nuts. If there was a crowd to watch an alien fight a predator, they would go nuts like that too if they had that face-off.
And even like the size difference and like where their heads kind of level up is mirror image. Although I don't know which one has the big long dome on him, but probably Hogan, I guess.
Definitely.
Hogan is our xenomorph.
Yeah, I think so.
Could you imagine that bandana going all the way back?
Well, like his balding. No, that was kind of a cool fight, though. That first fight where the alien, I guess, drew first blood there. But yeah, having the chief alien or the chief predator, the leader, go down first was interesting because it wasn't really what you expected, I think, either. Just based on them establishing him as kind of the alpha and the badass, and he gets taken out kind of one-on-one.
And relatively quietly, if I remember correctly, because then when he just basically gets just shifted right through the heart. Yeah. No, you're setting everything up. You're like, oh, okay, so this is our alpha, and then next scene you're like, well, he dead.
Yeah. Yeah, he got like the little mouth right through the back of his head.
Mm-hmm.
That was a wrap for him.
One thing I kind of do appreciate about this movie, if you compare it to like Freddy versus Jason, I think this is a more clear cut on who we need to root for in this movie and who's the villain.
Yep.
Like it's very obvious. It's like, oh, we got to root for the predators and they have to defeat the xenomorphs. Whereas Freddy versus Jason, you can still kind of pick your side by the end of it. But this one, it's very clear cut, and I think having that main predator go down is like, okay, now we need to fear the xenomorphs, because if they can take out the main predator, that's a threat. That's a big threat for everyone in this movie. I think it's a good choice of starting it off that way. And I do like that we get, it's hard to tell xenomorphs from one another because they all do look the same, and predators, besides different masks, that we get a clear cut of, with the alien acid blood, of how we can differentiate everybody, because the predator puts the mark on his helmet, and there's a point where they throw the net on one of the xenomorphs and it like squeezes it tight till the acid comes out. And so for the rest of the movie, this one alien has like the checkered marks all over its head from that acid coming out. Like that's at least a good way to differentiate who everybody is and how to tell which alien we've seen before and which one we haven't.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, even you have the one where where he's got the checkerboard and whatnot, so at least the one and whatnot. But yeah, the outside of that, I mean, for the sake of the aliens, all your regular drones look all the same and whatnot for the most part, until you get the queen that comes out, and you can obviously be able to know this is the one that we know that the queen is going to be the one that we need to take out, and that's the one. I do at least appreciate the fact that we have the evolution of the alien in here as well. We have, the face huggers. We have our regular aliens. Our xenomorphs. We have our queens, kind of thing. We have the evolution of that, giving us a way to differentiate that aspect of the side of things. Whereas, like you said, with the predator side of things, it's more of, their masks and who they are defines their class of what kind of predator they are.
Yeah, it definitely goes into the mythos of both creatures, like you said, because you get the full life cycle of an alien throughout this movie, and the predator, it basically does set up what the predator's whole reason for living is to hunt, and to be the top predator. And I think it does a good job of setting both of those up. Like if you're walking into this blind, you've never seen an alien or a predator movie, I think you pretty much understand what both of those characters are by the end of this. Me and Joe were talking about this before we started the show. The movie we should have gotten is in this movie, but it's about a minute and a half long, and it's when they show the flashbacks of the predators and what they do. Like they're basically using humans to create more aliens to fight. Yep. And you have this awesome shot of like three predators atop this pyramid, and you have just hundreds of xenomorphs coming up it, and they're just fighting them all off. I'm like, yeah, that's the movie I want. I want a Lord of the Rings style Alien versus Predator movie.
And that shot of itself was a legitimately really cool sequence to see and just terrifying. So yeah, I would definitely tune in to watch that movie, Alien vs. Predator, the prequel, I guess.
Yeah. I would be curious as to see a Predator in like ancient times, or kind of like a prequel of sorts, whatever, about because the idea of the pyramids and stuff like that, where if we stay in that period and whatnot, I think it would be a very fascinating turn to this franchise.
Yeah, because we've seen them fight the modern day warriors on Earth, but it'd be cool to see them fight more ancient warriors, and yeah, that would definitely be cool.
Could you imagine like a Predator samurai movie?
Yes.
Ooh, there you go.
Listen up, Fox, Disney now. You got all the money in the world. Let's get a samurai Predator movie.
Well, see, that funny enough, you should bring that up, because that was actually something I was bringing up on my phone here and whatnot, is the fact that, due to the acquisition that Disney has of the Fox properties and whatnot, where do we see the potential future for these franchises, since these are now Disney-owned franchises? Where and they're Disney tends to they get into the R-rated every once in a while, but they're not hardcore R-rated stuff like what Fox would do. Where do we see these franchises going, from here on out?
The only thing that for sure has to happen is Queen Alien needs to be recognized as a Disney princess.
Heck yeah.
Nothing else matters. Yeah, if she's not dancing out there with Snow White and Cinderella, then there's something going on.
I think the only thing that is in works right now for either series is that Alien FX series that they are working on. So I don't think Disney's dumb enough to say, well, they're R-rated, we can't do anything with them. I think it's more of they're going to push it to the subdivision that is 20th Century Studios now is what they call it.
Yeah. And
go that route. I mean, obviously, I think another Predator movie is in the works too. I think we talked about it on the show. The director of 10 Cloverfield Lane, I think, is working on another Predator movie.
I think you might be right.
Yeah, for me, I would love to see them kind of do their. Alien. I think you can probably continue to do on its own thing. Maybe let Ridley Scott do another one if he wants to. Whatever. Predator, let it do its own thing. I would like to see within the next decade. I would love to see them try to do another Alien versus Predator. Give them $100 million, $150 million this time, and see what you can do with that. And just have an all-out war between predators and aliens. Because look at the CGI technology that has advanced since this movie came out in 2004. You could combine the practical with the CG and have that awesome fight atop a pyramid with hundreds of xenomorphs attacking like 3 predators. You could have a whole action sequence of that, and I would really love to see that. I think this franchise of Alien versus Predator is still ripe for Hollywood to take another go at, but I think they'll separate them still for a little while longer. But I would love to see them team up in a movie again.
Yeah, I don't think it's something that needs any sort of reboot or anything. It'd be great to just say that we've established what everything is. We could just tell some new stories with either set of characters, and Disney has a large roster of actors that they go to for multiple different products, whether it be Marvel or Star Wars, and so there's a lot of people you could pick from to put into like sci-fi horror action movies. That would be great and kind of fix the problem of this movie that was a little weak in that area.
Starring Donald Glover.
I was just gonna say, you can finally have Donald Glover be Danny Glover's grandson.
Oh yes.
And combine the series.
I am all for that.
Connect Predator 2 to Alien vs. Predator.
Except I picture they make that movie and they're going to do the press junket and whatnot, and how many these people are going to be like, so are you really related to Danny Glover? No.
He'd probably Donald Glover would probably say yes, he's my grandpa.
He probably would play into it. But he you talk about like the vast pool of people that that Disney likes to retap over and over again to go across franchises and whatnot. And immediately, he was the first one I was like, give me Donald Glover. Absolutely.
And Samuel L.
Oh my God. I think, give me Samuel L., but he needs to die, but he needs to go out dying violently.
You are one ugly mother.
Yes.
Let him give the line.
Let if it's gonna be PG-13, you put Sam Jackson in there, you give him the F-bomb.
My pitch is to give just because Joe has the shirt on, give Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland, like, let those guys do an Alien vs. Predator movie with Donald Glover and Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
I do.
Which so now that we're off on the branch of Samuel L. Jackson, so which creature does he need to face off with more?
Oh, no. Maybe it's one of those things that before, he's the guy, because he is Sam Jackson. Sam Jackson doesn't go down lightly and whatnot. That's where that's that 10-second truce moment where both the alien and the predator both go after him, and he says that they're both ugly mother effers.
Yeah. Save him for the crossover. You're right.
Yes. Because
he's in every movie anyway. Put him in this one.
He's Sam Jackson. He can't just go down by one of them. He's got to go down by more than just one of them.
And he needs to be in it because he's done Kong. He's been a Jedi. He's Nick Fury. He needs to be in an Alien Predator movie.
He can knock out he's in Jurassic Park. He can knock out another two franchises in one go.
Right. Is any Disney animated stuff? Because at this point right now, he needs to be.
I don't. Oh God, I don't know. I don't know if he is. Let's go into kind of. I guess since we're off on tangents, let's wrap this thing up. Let's get into final thoughts on Alien versus Predator. Movie ends with them fighting up the giant queen alien that looks like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and I like it. It's fun.
Queen always has short little pudgy arms.
Yeah. Predator dies. The other Predators show up in their spaceship, give the kind of nod of approval to our main character, and she's just left on Antarctica to probably just freeze and die out there.
Probably. I don't see how she gets off Antarctica. No. Then she's dead. You're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dark hidden ending.
Happy ending. Final thoughts on this movie. Again, if you're it's not the greatest versus movie. This isn't the best version of Alien versus Predator that we could.
No, it's a great way to end our series, Casey.
Brian, we got one more to record, and I'm so much looking forward to that.
Oh no, you're not.
Yeah, Patreon bonus episode: Lake Placid versus Anaconda. Two more icons of aquatic horror teaming up and fighting each other.
I will just say this, knowing that you haven't watched it and I have. Yeah,
I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm stoked. I'm more stoked for that than I was for this. And I mean, this is, if you need to waste 90 to 100 minutes of your time, there's worse ways to do it. But Alien vs. Predator, it's fine. It has some great fun moments with those two groups fighting, and yeah, it's not terrible, but it's not great either.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty good middle of the road.
Yeah, you get to see both characters like kind of do all their tricks, all their different weapons and things that they do. One thing that we didn't mention was how the temple or the pyramid was kind of its own character in a way too. It was kind of a weird thing to add in there, and they could have probably committed to it more, like do a full, Indiana Jones type thing with it. But there were a couple of sequences there where the pyramid played a role in some thrills. Probably the best scene for me was in the room that had all the face hugger pods, and dude from Train Spotting is in there, and he's all trapped, and he's seeing what's about to happen to him because everyone else has a face hugger on. I think that was probably the most suspense I think I felt in the movie overall.
I will say again that, and I said it before. Your Train Spotting guy, Ewan Bremer. He's one of the reasons why he for me is one of the reasons why I did enjoy this. because I enjoy him as an actor, though, you know, he's obviously not top echelon, whatever. I enjoy him and whatnot. But it's the fact that when he's basically glued to the wall and he wants to shoot the one face hugger so he doesn't get basically killed or whatever, unloads the gun just to end up coming to that realization as they pan out. There is 50 pods in that thing and whatnot. And I did love that. So, and, you know, for the small bit part he had in there, I do like Tommy Flanagan in this here just because he plays the asshole in that too, that it plays against Ewan Bremer.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He's not enough of an asshole for me in this movie. He should have been more of an asshole.
He completely should have been more of an asshole. I agreed. Knowing Sons of Anarchy, I know he could pull it off.
The biggest missed opportunity in terms of the pyramid stuff is no one ran and slid underneath one of the slabs coming down. It's such a missed opportunity, such an easy thing to do in an action.
Did I completely forget it? But nobody got squished by anything either.
No,
close,
that's the other thing is that you should have at least one where they're not paying attention, that then they get squished by the shifting pyramid. I agree. I think there should have been more aspect of it, you know, kind of Indiana Jones-ish in that, you know, if they're trying to get from point A to point B, whatever, if it's supposed to be moving every 10 minutes, that should be a part of like our pacing to the movie. Is every 10 minutes something's happening when the people are in the character, whatever the case is, something's shifting around to the point where it's, whether it be that it's putting them in harm's way or if it's putting, you know, them at safety because something is about to happen, 10 minutes is up, it blocks them off from getting killed, you know, something like that. Yeah, there should have been more play into that since they acknowledged that was a thing within the temple.
Yeah, like kind of the third act, it seemed like it disappeared a little bit or you didn't notice it. Yeah, it would have been a good way for them to maybe get the upper hand on at least one alien or something. You know, it was something that it seemed like just didn't fit into that big final blow off at the end.
Well, yeah, it would have been so easy to have two of your characters trying to run through those as it's lifting up, you know, closing. And you have an alien right behind him, and they get off just in time, and the alien just gets smushed, and you have acid splatter. I'm like,
well, that's what I was going to just say. Is I just picture like there's the one instance where the alien is up slightly up in that little bit of a tunnel kind of thing. Is all of a sudden you have it shifting, whatever, and it doesn't get out in time, whatever. You just watch his head fall down because everything else, you know, yeah.
And then you get it seemed like the alien gore was okay for the PG-13 here, so you can squish an alien, do whatever you want. And I was actually kind of surprised going back at there really was, you know, a little more gore than I remembered. It just wasn't human gore as much. And I guess that was just more tolerable to dodge the R rating. But yeah, you could have squished an alien. So you could have squished an alien and it would have been cool and given us some slimy guts that we wanted, but you know, without having to do it to a person.
Yeah. Let's jump into the box office for this movie. It did open number one the weekend of August 13th, 2004, $38 million for AVP, Alien vs. Predator. Number two, movie we should cover on this, a classic, The Princess Diaries 2, Royal Engagement, $22.9 million.
Never seen either one of those, and I'm okay with that.
Also, what it opened this also opened this same weekend. So AVP or The Princess Diaries 2 are your big options for that opening weekend.
Well, I already know what my options were.
Some tough date nights that night, right? Tough decisions had to be made.
A couple other movies that were in the box office still. Collateral was the first Yu-Gi-Oh movie. Born Supremacy, The Village. We're also in the top 10 of the box office during this time, but did open at number one.
I saw most of those.
Yeah, so that is the box office for that. Again, $38 million doesn't seem like a whole lot for this movie.
No, but it was also 2004, and you know, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those ones where because we had Predator 1, we had Predator 2. The Predators wasn't out yet. So, I mean, at this point right now, I mean, it had been how many years since the Predator, you know? So I think it would have been the kind of thing where they would needed to have had like a, you know, kind of going back to like the DC thing. Give us like a Predator movie before that, you know, kind of like what we're doing with Godzilla versus Kong. Give us a movie within the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Before we just drop into this versus movie. the build of that hype for that kind of thing is where we're kind of where that was a little bit of a miss for this one here, because we'd had continuing Aliens movies for the most part up until 2004, but what Predator 2 is what mid 90s,
early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So by this time here, we're talking about almost 20 years.
Yeah, this
And
movie
so-
is about 10 years too late. This should have
Yeah.
been a 90s, late 90s at the latest. But yeah, we got it in 04.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the reasons is that, you know, a lot of people are like, I don't know Predator. I'm not invested in the Predator, but now we're going to also make the Predator the hero of this movie, though, too.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll wrap this thing up here. If you do want to check out Alien versus Predator, it is available on HBO Max right now, as well as its sequel, Alien versus Predator Requiem. So go check those out if you have not watched them, or if you want a fresh rewatch for Alien versus Predator, why not check them out? But we'll kind of wrap this thing up here with our plugs, what we got going on. If you'd like, and if you want to hear more of this podcast, you can subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and to see our faces. We are also on YouTube as well. Give us a good subscribe there if you could, and leave us a rating, a like, or a comment on any of those that you can. We do appreciate it. Brian, where can they find us on social media?
On the social media, it's all at Backlot605. It's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also on Facebook, we have our South Dakota Film Community Group. We're joining the conversation. We just like to talk about things that are going on and our thoughts, and just share fun things.
Mm-hmm. And if you'd like some more Backlot 605 content, you can check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/Backlot 605. Like I said, for $5 tiers this month, you are getting Lake Placid versus Anaconda. I can't wait. Maybe my John Voight Anaconda impersonation will come out during that episode. You'll have to listen to find out.
Oh my God.
Special shout out to our patrons, Logan, Blake, Andy, Derek, Lou, Corey, and Darren. Thank you guys so much for helping us out, supporting the show. And then we'll kind of wrap it up here with Joe, who is doing some writing for us on Backlot 605. He's helping us kind of gain momentum as we go into Godzilla versus Kong. We have reviews of Kong Skull Island. I'm also working on your Godzilla review. That'll be out by the time this episode is out as well. So anything else you want to throw out there, Joe, that you got going on?
No, I need some Letterboxd friends. So Joe Fender 813 on Letterboxd. I pretty much review just about everything I watch. Sometimes very brief reviews, but yeah, I'm definitely excited for Kong and Godzilla finally to face off again. So looking forward to that.
Who are you rooting for? If you have only one, who's your guy?
Oh, it's really tough. I find myself sympathetic to Kong more often. So I guess I don't want to watch big old Kong get his head caved in or anything. But I would prefer there be no. We need a winner. Unlike that's the thing about the Alien vs. Predator movie, that we walked out of the theater and the people that backed Alien felt that it wasn't fair because there was a good guy, bad guy dynamic. So yeah.
They got the chest burster at the end. It wasn't over.
Yeah.
Right. An alien predator hybrid. That's what I wanted to see once we got Requiem. Is I wanted to see the hybrid.
Yep.
Last thing we do got a plug for next week. We are starting a brand new series. This has nothing to do with any new release. It's just so me and Brian can knock off 2 movies off our bucket list because we are starting Francis Ford Coppola month with Godfather. That'll be our first movie. So the Godfather series, huge blind spots for me and Brian. Finally giving both of us all right, if we have it on the podcast, we finally have to watch The Godfather. So kicking it off next week with Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather. Very much excited and looking forward to finally checking that one out and getting that one knocked off the list of movies that I need to watch.
Yes, definitely. And now I'm sitting here wondering, okay, so I know how we've got everything situated for the list, whatever. I can't not finish the trilogy. Plus, we have the recut version of Godfather 3. I'm going to be watching a lot of The Godfather in the month of April.
By the end of it, Brian will just be calling himself The Godfather.
The Godfather.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for listening. Thank you so much, Joe, for helping us out to trying to dissect Alien versus Predator. Yeah, go check out Joe on Letterboxd. I love all your reviews on there because you watch some stuff I've never even heard of, and I'm like, ooh, I need to check that out.
I know. I was just pulling it up right now as we speak.
Right on.
All right. Thank you again, Joe. For Brian Mensing, I'm Casey Kelderman. We'll check y'all out next time on the Backlot of South Dakota.